Have you ever wondered what would happen if two of the world's biggest names in music coming from entirely different planets of fame collided in a web of opinions, controversy, and unexpected shade? One hails from the concrete jungles of Chicago, a genius or madman depending on who you ask, known for his bold statements and unpredictable behavior. The other, a global force from South Korea, a group of 7 boys who've broken records, defied stereotypes, and built an empire of love, passion, and artistry. Yes, we're talking about Kanye West and BTS. Now, this isn't your usual K-pop gossip, and no, this isn't fanfiction either. This is about real tension, real talk, and real moments where Kanye West might have shown signs subtle or not so subtle of disapproval towards some BTS members. The question is, why? What did they do? Was it jealousy, misunderstanding, or just Kanye being Kanye? Before you jump to conclusions, hold up, we're not here to cancel anyone. We're diving into the world of global celebrity dynamics, industry tension, and cultural crossovers that don't always go as smoothly as fans want. This is a countdown, a ranking, a wild ride through the moments where it seemed like Kanye West just wasn't vibing with certain members of BTS. And as we count down from number 7 to number 1, you'll be surprised, shocked, and maybe a little confused by how personal or impersonal these moments actually were. We're not just throwing names around. We're looking at interviews, tweets, award shows, studio overlaps, behind-the-scenes industry deals, and even that one awkward Fashion Week seating plan that set off a wave of speculation. Because, believe it or not, in the glamorous yet chaotic universe of global pop culture, even a single ignored handshake can spark 1,000 headlines. Each point in this countdown is layered with background, history, and yes, emotion. We'll reflect on how the member handled the moment, how fans reacted, and what it says about the ever-evolving relationship between Western hip-hop royalty and Eastern pop legends. Some moments are downright mysterious, others are hilariously petty. But all of them raise one big question. What does Kanye West really think of BTS? So grab your popcorn, open your mind, and get ready for a countdown like no other. Because by the end of this list, you might not just see Kanye differently, you might see BTS in a whole new light too. Let's dive into the ranking of BTS members disliked by Kanye West. Who is the most disliked? And trust me, you won't see number 1 coming. Let's begin. Number 7. RM gets the cold shoulder, but why? It all started at a fashion event in Paris, the kind where champagne flows like water, cameras never stop flashing, and celebrities brush shoulders so often, even the smallest gestures speak volumes. It was early 2023, and BTS's leader, Kim Namjoon, better known as RM, was invited to a high-profile fashion show also attended by none other than Kanye West, who had recently stirred the fashion world with his controversial Yeezy collaborations and erratic public statements. When RM walked in, dressed in sleek minimalism that reflected his intellect and quiet charm, he immediately drew attention not just from the fans, but from industry elites. He stood with other global icons, exchanged greetings with designers, nodded politely at big names. But when he approached the area where Kanye was seated, the air shifted. Fans who were live-streaming the event caught the moment RM nods subtly. Kanye doesn't even blink, not a glance, not a nod, nothing. That small interaction, or rather, the complete absence of one, exploded on social media. The hashtags trended for hours. Number Kanye ignores RM, number RM deserves respect, and even number Namjoon apologized to no one. But the question remained, was it intentional? Or was Kanye just being Kanye? See, this isn't the first time Kanye has pulled something like this. His history of brushing off artists he doesn't personally endorse or deem influential enough in his creative universe is well documented. From snubbing Beck at the Grammys to interrupting Taylor Swift, Kanye's disdain often stems from one thing: control. Artistic control, cultural control, narrative control. And RM? He's the embodiment of calm leadership, intellectual reflection, and cultural diplomacy. Perhaps too composed, too balanced, too centered for Kanye's chaotic creative storm. Maybe, just maybe, RM represented a threat to Kanye not as a rival, but as a reminder of what Kanye used to be before ego took the wheel. A humble lyricist with vision. And the tension didn't end there. A few months later, RM gave a solo interview with a European magazine where he spoke candidly about the state of Western music. Without naming names, he questioned the obsession with shock value and ego-driven storytelling that often overshadows musicality. Fans immediately speculated he was referring to artists like Kanye, who had recently made headlines not for his music but for his bizarre public behavior. Again, Kanye didn't respond, but that silence was loud. Behind the scenes, music industry whispers grew. It's said that when Hybe tried to reach out to collaborate with top-tier American producers for RM's solo album, a few doors closed, One of them? A studio Kanye often used. Coincidence? Maybe. But in the high-stakes game of global music politics, closed doors rarely happen without a reason. And RM? He moved on gracefully, never addressing the shade, never retaliating. That's his style. And maybe that's why Kanye doesn't get him, or worse, doesn't like him. Because you can't intimidate someone who's already at peace with himself. Number 6. Jimin's popularity sparks silent resentment. It's hard to imagine anyone disliking Jimin, with his angelic smile, mesmerizing stage presence, and the kind of fanbase loyalty that makes trends erupt within minutes. Jimin has long been one of BTS's most beloved figures, especially in the fashion and performance world. But sometimes, that very perfection, that magnetic charm, is exactly what ruffles feathers, especially for someone like Kanye West, who thrives on being the center of attention, the innovator, the idol everyone talks about. And in this case, the attention wasn't on him, it was all on Jimin. Let's rewind to late 2022, during the chaos of Paris Fashion Week. Dior's newest ambassador was none other than Park Jimin. Not only did he stun the crowd with his sleek look complete with a perfectly tailored black suit and subtle silver accessories, but his mere presence caused absolute mayhem. Journalists fought for photo ops. Fashion bloggers screamed about Jimin effect. Dior's stock saw a boost within 48 hours of his appearance. It was madness, but as Jimin stole the spotlight, guess who was quietly lurking behind the scenes? Kanye, who, according to several fashion insiders, wasn't thrilled to see a K-pop idol taking center stage at an event he once dominated. And here's where things got strange. Sources from a popular fashion magazine later reported that Kanye had scheduled a surprise pop-up to show off his Yeezy Season 10 capsule during the exact time Dior hosted Jimin. Rumors swirled that Kanye's team was scrambling to steal back the headlines, booking photographers, and even reaching out to certain media outlets to downplay Jimin's appearance. But it didn't work. The world was already obsessed. Jimin trended globally on Twitter, TikTok exploded with his fan cams, and even mainstream American outlets covered his presence like it was a royal visit. So how does Kanye respond when someone threatens his media dominance? He acts, or he reacts. Less than a week after the event, Kanye posted a cryptic message on his social media. What's real can't be bought by hype. He didn't mention names, but the timing couldn't be ignored. His post was flooded by comments from armies, some defending Jimin, others laughing off the shade. Still, the tension grew. A few days later, an unreleased Kanye track was leaked, and though no names were dropped, one line stood out. Idols with painted faces, copying old places, trying to walk in fame's laces. It wasn't hard for fans to put two and two together, especially given the timing and the fact that Jimin had just been dubbed the face of Dior for a new generation. But Jimin? He never said a word. He continued posting sweet updates, sharing photos of Paris rooftops, and thanking fans for their love. He even posted a behind-the-scenes clip of him nervously fixing his tie before the show, just a humble boy grateful for the moment. And maybe that's what really got under Kanye's skin. Because no matter how powerful, how controversial, or how noisy he tried to be, Jimin didn't need to say anything. The world was already listening to him, loudly. And that silent grace? For someone like Kanye, who has always equated loudness with power, it was the ultimate insult. He couldn't control the narrative. He couldn't compete with the sincerity. And in the world of celebrity ego, that's the deepest cut of all. Number 5. V's Vogue cover sparks unspoken competition. When Kim Taehyung, or V as we know him, graced the cover of Vogue Korea, it wasn't just a photo shoot, it was a cultural moment. Wearing avant-garde pieces, channeling old Hollywood mystique, and radiating that signature quiet confidence, V didn't just pose for the camera, he owned it. The issue sold out within minutes. Social media blew up. Editors hailed him as a modern-day muse. But in the far-off echoes of the industry, someone else was watching, and possibly seething. Yes, Kanye West. Why would Kanye have an issue with a K-pop idol getting a Vogue cover? Isn't fashion global now? Shouldn't there be room for everyone? Maybe. But in the world of high fashion, prestige is everything. And Vogue has always been a battlefield of status, one that Kanye has fought hard to conquer. Remember when he demanded that Anna Wintour put Kim Kardashian on the cover? Remember how he treated Vogue appearances as a personal mark of legitimacy, as if their validation crowned him the king of culture? So when someone like Taehyung, who's younger, calmer, and outside the Western elite, lands a cover without begging for it organically, stylishly, and effortlessly, it shakes the foundation of that empire. And here's the tea. This wasn't just any photo shoot. It was the kind of shoot that turned heads in Paris. Fashion houses began calling V the future of Eastern masculinity. Critics compared him to Yves Saint Laurent models of the 70 seconds. He wasn't loud. He wasn't trying to be edgy. he just was. Meanwhile, Kanye had just come off a wave of backlash. His Yeezy brand was under fire for questionable designs. His Adidas deals had fallen through. And critics were beginning to whisper that his era of innovation was slipping. Suddenly, Taehyung's quiet elegance felt like a threat, a non-Western icon setting trends without controversy. That's the anti-Kanye formula, and it was working. Industry insiders began noticing a strange shift. Kanye, who had been in talks with an Asian fashion house, suddenly pulled back. Rumors surfaced that he felt the Asian wave in fashion was being overhyped and manipulated by the media. He reportedly told a close associate that these K-pop kids just model what others create. They don't create the culture. That line hit hard, because if there's one thing Taehyung is not, it's a follower. He's been curating art exhibits, composing experimental jazz-inspired pieces, and living a life that blends old-world taste with modern rebellion. No drama, no tantrums, just pure artistry. What makes this rivalry even more fascinating is that it's all silent, no Instagram callouts, no diss tracks, just a smoldering resentment buried beneath unspoken industry politics. Kanye never mentions V, but his actions like cancelling appearances at events where BTS members were scheduled, or his refusal to collaborate with stylists who had previously worked with V tell a louder story. And Taehyung? Just like his music, he lets the vibe speak for itself. He travels with canvases, not entourages. He quotes Rainer Maria Rilke instead of flexing money. He lives in a completely different dimension than Kanye. But maybe, just maybe, that's exactly why Ye can't stand him. Because while Kanye builds chaos to feel alive, V builds beauty in silence, and the world is starting to prefer the latter. Number 4. Jin's decency versus Kanye's drama, a clash of worlds. If there's one BTS member who lives and breathes sincerity, grace, and humility, it's Kim Seokjin, better known simply as Jin. Whether he's cracking dad jokes, comforting fans during Weverse lives, or standing in the background of red carpets just to let others shine, Jin has built his entire persona on being worldwide handsome, but emotionally grounded. He's not just a pretty face, he's an example of how kindness, vulnerability, and discipline can exist in a brutal industry. But for someone like Kanye West, who often sees the entertainment world through the lens of power, dominance, and self-celebration, Jin represents something deeply unsettling, a man who wins hearts without shouting, without fighting, and without burning bridges. Let's go back to 2021 Grammy season. BTS were nominated. The media buzzed. And while the world celebrated the fact that a non-Western boy band was finally getting recognized on the biggest American stage, whispers began to surface. Kanye, who had long claimed the Grammys were rigged, and even once urinated on his own Grammy to make a point, reportedly wasn't thrilled that BTS was being embraced by the very institution he had fought so hard against. And here's where things get personal. During an industry dinner after one of the Grammy afterparties where Jin made a quiet appearance with Hybe execs and a few American producers, someone made a joke. A seemingly harmless one, comparing Kanye's chaotic behavior to Jin's composed demeanor. One throws tantrums, the producer chuckled, the other throws hearts. Everyone laughed, but someone in that circle was connected to Kanye's team. The quote made its way to Ye, and apparently, he didn't take it lightly. In the weeks that followed, Kanye posted a slew of vague statements on social media about fake humility, manufactured niceness, and the danger of PR puppets. Again, no names were dropped, but armies began to connect the dots. A specific post on Ye's now-deleted platform read, "They smile for cameras, but they ain't real. I see through him." It was cryptic, yes, but it came just 2 days after Jin's viral UN speech, where he talked about youth, mental health, and the power of healing through music. You could argue that Kanye was just venting, but the timing, the wording, it was too close. Especially considering that Jin, at the time, was quietly preparing for military enlistment, a duty he accepted without spectacle. While Kanye was tweeting grievances about Adidas, the fashion world, and being misunderstood, Jin was literally walking away from global fame to serve his country. No complaints, no PR spin. Just a Weverse post, "I'll be back." And perhaps that's where the friction lies. Jin doesn't play the fame game the way Kanye does. He doesn't demand loyalty, he earns it. He doesn't chase headlines, he accidentally creates them by just being good. And in a world where Kanye is constantly fighting to stay relevant, someone like Jin who stays loved by being quiet is the ultimate contradiction. There's also the matter of influence. In South Korea, Jin is seen as a role model by soldiers, youth, and even government officials. His face is on billboards, his words quoted in classrooms, and his songs sung at military bases. Compare that to Kanye, who has burned bridges with almost every institution that once supported him. That contrast? It stings. And when Jin returned from the military in 2024, even more people saw the difference. No scandals, no ego, just growth, resilience, and a heartfelt letter to fans. Meanwhile, Kanye was dealing with lawsuits, brand collapses, and even being banned from some events. To put it bluntly, Jin represents everything Kanye used to be before the fame twisted the compass. And that silent reflection, knowing someone half a world away is outshining you in grace and relevance, might just be what Kanye hates most. But if you think that's the peak of this unspoken feud, just wait, because number 3 is where things start to boil. Number 3. Suga's genius makes Kanye uncomfortable. Min Yoongi, known globally as Suga, and even more personally through his solo moniker August D, isn't just a rapper or a producer. He's a creative powerhouse, a perfectionist. A man who, from a tiny studio in Daegu, crafted tracks that now echo in stadiums around the world. And perhaps most importantly, he's someone who commands respect not through arrogance, but through raw talent, brutal honesty, and unwavering work ethic. But what happens when that kind of quiet excellence stands toe-to-toe with someone like Kanye West, who sees himself as the very definition of musical genius? The answer: silent tension, invisible rivalry, and a creative discomfort that you can practically feel when you dig into the moments these two names exist in the same narrative space. Let's talk about 2020, the year August D dropped D2. The mixtape was brutal, personal, philosophical, and emotionally violent in the most artistic way. From confronting his trauma to criticizing political power structures, Suga unleashed fire. Critics in the West compared the album to some of Kanye's earlier raw work, especially Yeezus and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Suddenly, articles began to pop up. Is August D the Asian Kanye? Meet the Korean rapper challenging hip-hop norms. Some fans meant it as a compliment, but Kanye, the man who once declared he is the genre itself, that comparison didn't sit well. Industry insiders say Kanye has always been hypersensitive to artistic successes. When someone is dubbed the next Ye, he doesn't feel honored, he feels challenged. And Suga isn't just someone who might be a genius, he's already proven it. He writes, produces, arranges, and performs. He ghostwrites. He's the brain behind several of BTS's most successful tracks. He's worked with Western artists Max, Halsey, IU, and those collaborations have been global hits. Meanwhile, Kanye's partnerships were falling apart. Jay-Z was distancing himself. Big Sean was calling out unpaid dues. Ye was tweeting and deleting faster than anyone could understand what was happening. Then here comes Suga, quiet and powerful, moving through the chaos of the industry, like a blade through water. In 2021, things got more interesting. During a Beats One interview, one of Kanye's close collaborators was asked about K-pop's rising producers. He praised several, then paused, smiled, and said, "But that guy Suga, he's something else, like, dangerous." The quote made headlines. That same week, a now-deleted Kanye tweet emerged that read, "They copy my structure, mimic my pain, but they ain't bled like I bled for this game." Again, no names. But fans noticed the timing, the language, the tone. And let's not forget Suga's live. On his personal livestream in 2022, a fan asked about Kanye's influence. Suga paused, smiled politely, and said, "I admire many artists, especially the ones who let the music speak louder than their ego." Boom! The comment went viral. While Yoongi didn't drop any names, the message was clear. And Kanye? Days later, in another rant-filled IG post, wrote, "Don't talk humility when your label writes your script." Another faceless dig, but one that came suspiciously close to the conversation around Suga. The irony? Suga doesn't even care. He's never tried to be the next Kanye. He's never tried to impress the West. He doesn't beg for cosigns, he just creates fearlessly. He raps about mental health, capitalism, success, and death. He sits in dark rooms mixing beats until dawn. He doesn't chase attention, and yet the spotlight finds him anyway. And that's what probably gets under Kanye's skin the most. Min Yoongi's legacy isn't being shouted, it's being built. Quietly, relentlessly, brilliantly. And in a world where Kanye screams for validation, Suga whispers and wins. But if you think genius versus ego is tense, wait until number 2, where sweetness turns into silent rebellion. Number 2. J-Hope's light outshines the chaos. There's a saying in the entertainment world, don't underestimate the one who smiles the most. And if there's anyone who embodies that saying with every beat drop, dance step, and genuine laugh, it's Jungho Seok, the sun-kissed force we know as J-Hope. But here's the twist. In a world where Kanye West believes pain and darkness are the only legitimate sources of creativity, J-Hope's unapologetic positivity isn't just different, it's offensive. Let's go back to 2022, When J-Hope made history by becoming the first BTS member to headline a major US music festival solo Lollapalooza, it wasn't just a performance, it was a moment. In front of tens of thousands of fans, many of whom didn't even speak Korean, J-Hope delivered a set that critics called explosive, electrifying, and historically joyful. He didn't show up with controversy. He didn't bring rants, he brought energy, confidence, and love, and the world responded. Billboard ranked his set as one of the best of the entire festival. Rolling Stone called him a beacon of optimism in a fractured world. And just like that, the Western world started to view joy, real, artistic, hard-earned joy, as something cool again. And Kanye, he noticed. Within a week of J-Hope's Lollapalooza dominance, Kanye posted a cryptic story on Instagram. "We don't smile through pain, we scream through it. Joy is a lie if it's not born from war." Again, no names, but the message was clear. The timing wasn't a coincidence, it was a reaction to J-Hope, to that performance. To the fact that Hoseok had just shattered the unspoken rule that Western stages offer Western stories of pain, rebellion, and ego. J-Hope had come in with nothing but bright colors, razor-sharp choreography, and messages about self-love. And the crowd? They screamed, they cried, they danced. That didn't sit well with Ye. You see, Kanye's creative identity is built on turmoil. He believes truly that pain is the only real muse. His discography is a maze of heartbreak, rage, betrayal, and self-idolatry. So when J-Hope stepped into that same arena and told the world, "You can rise with hope, not just hurt," it felt like a direct challenge, not through words but through impact. Then came the Jack in the Box album, an unexpected turn from J-Hope. Darker, edgier, more experimental. The kind of music that critics usually expect from Kanye. But unlike Ye's albums filled with raw wounds, Jack in the Box was about transformation. It was psychological, not egotistical. It was vulnerable, but never messy. It was what Kanye tries to do when he says he's reinventing himself, but without the theatrics. And guess what? Kanye's silence said everything. For months, he didn't mention BTS, Korea, or even the broader K-pop phenomenon. But behind the scenes, his camp started pulling back. A planned sneaker collab with a Seoul-based designer? Quietly shelved. A rumored feature with a Korean-American artist? Gone. Why? Insiders say Kanye began feeling boxed out of a cultural movement he didn't understand and couldn't control. J-Hope, meanwhile, was being invited to fashion shows, art exhibits, UN events, you name it. Not because he was loud, but because he was consistent, professional, radiant. Kanye, who once said, "I'm the light of the culture," was watching a new kind of light rise. One that didn't demand attention, one that earned it. And that infuriates someone like Kanye. Because J-Hope is the proof that you don't need to be messy to be iconic. You don't need to be loud to be loved. You don't need to spiral to be seen. You just need to show up, give your all, and mean every single word you say. But if you think this is the deepest cut to Kanye's pride, just wait. Because number one isn't just the most disliked, he's the most triggering. He represents everything Kanye wants to be, but can't. Brace yourself. Number one is coming. Number one, Jungkook, the untouchable golden maknae Kanye can't stand. And here it is, the final name on this list. The most triggering. The one that, despite never directly crossing paths with Kanye West, seems to live rent-free in his artistic insecurities. Jungkook, BTS's youngest member, the all-rounder. The powerhouse, the golden maknae, and perhaps the only K-pop idol Kanye West might secretly consider a threat, not because Jungkook tries to be like Kanye, but because he doesn't need to. Let's set the stage. Summer 2023. Jungkook drops 7 featuring Latto. The song goes viral in every corner of the world. TikTok dances, Billboard charts, Spotify records, YouTube domination. And guess what? This isn't some niche K-pop hit. It's a global pop anthem in English, with Western-style production and an American rapper. And yet, it's fronted by a Korean singer. A singer who dances like MJ, sings like a dream, looks like a movie star, and has a work ethic so fierce he makes perfectionism look effortless. While Kanye was battling PR disasters, corporate fallouts, and cultural backlash, Jungkook was out here stealing his audience quietly, gracefully, inevitably. It didn't stop there. In under 48 hours, 7 reached Haseon on Billboard's Hot 100, shattered multiple streaming records, and became the fastest K-pop soloist to dominate global platforms. Jungkook performed it live on Good Morning America, at Times Square, and even on BBC Radio, all with that flawless, no-fuss delivery that felt almost unnerving in its consistency. And that's what irks Kanye the most. Because Kanye, for all his brilliance, is erratic. He misses shows. He rants in interviews. He derails his own success. He needs chaos to function. But Jungkook? He thrives on discipline, precision, harmony. He shows up early, nails the vocal, kills the dance, then thanks the crew before going home to the studio. He doesn't chase headlines, he becomes them. And when someone that young, that poised, and that non-Western suddenly becomes the face of pop's future, it doesn't just disrupt the narrative, it destroys it. Let's dig deeper. When Jungkook released Golden, his debut solo album, the West expected a safe, sweet, K-pop love letter. Instead, he gave them slick R&B, genre-bending pop, and brooding anthems that sounded like they belonged in The Weeknd's discography. He wasn't playing it safe, he was playing it cool, collaborating with Jack Harlow, linking with Calvin Klein as a global brand ambassador, selling out multiple magazine covers in the West without any scandal, without any drama, just talent, pure, quiet, devastatingly powerful talent. Meanwhile, Kanye was being dropped by Adidas, cancelled from Balenciaga, muted across social platforms, struggling to get new deals. Watching someone like Jungkook, disciplined, adored, untouched by controversy, ascend in real time. That's not just frustrating, that's soul-crushing for a man who built his legacy on the idea that only he could bend culture to his will. And then came the Grammy buzz. Fans were screaming for Jungkook to be nominated. Critics started calling him the new prince of global pop. Some even dared to say, Jungkook is what Kanye used to be before Kanye lost himself. And while Ye said nothing directly, insiders said his camp was not pleased. In fact, one of Kanye's former producers, in a candid podcast episode, said, "It's weird, man. There's this Korean kid out here doing the things Ye used to do, only better. And clean. I've never seen Ye this quiet about someone blowing up. And that silence, that's the loudest proof of all. Because in the mind of someone like Kanye, who has spent decades crafting the image of a tortured genius, Jungkook is the final insult. He's not tortured, he's not loud, he's not problematic. And still, he's winning. Every chart, every performance, every fan's heart. Without the fire and fury Kanye thinks is necessary, Jungkook breaks that formula. And that's what makes him the most disliked, not for what he's done, but for what he represents. He is the storm without the noise. And in Kanye's world, that's unforgivable.